Yeah, I think Guardian is back, and the players who really take the time to test things out, brew decks that are meta specific will be rewarded for sure.
So this summer we have Guardian Mastery as well as Smash Palace. It is the summer of the Guardian. Combine all that with the fact that Mistveil heroes are starting to go, and Guardian is back on the menu, boys. So today we're joined by ClarkJ, and we look forward to the summer of the Guardian. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Dice Commando for a Guardian-focused Go Again, a fabulous cast. Today we're joined once again by Clark, Guardian Extraordinaire, who's going to spend some time with us today talking all things Guardian with this summer's full array of Guardian-focused products. So, Clark, welcome back. How are you doing, my friend?
Good, Andrew. Thanks for having me back. Yeah, I would say maybe enthusiast. I don't know if extraordinaire implies things I don't have merit for, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll do our best. Enthusiast definitely works though.
Enthusiast, fair enough. So last time we had you on here, we talked quite a bit about your place with Bravo and your love for the big guy, but you were
Yeah.
taking a bit of a break, a lull, whatever we want to call it at the time, because Guardian was not in a
Yeah.
super great spot, and you were taking a break. So what have you been up to since, and where are you at right now in your fab ebb and flow?
Yep, I did take a break. Also during that time, I was experimenting with Victor for a little bit. Yeah, I would say in the last 2 months, I've been starting to test things with Bravo again, skipping every Enigma match and skipping a majority of the Zen matches, and that was obviously before the coincidence of with their LL the last week. But yeah, I've definitely still been playing Bravo and been trying to solve the difficult matchups, and yeah, I've been having fun with it. It seems, or it feels more like a typical meta where Bravo needs to have a specific brew of the deck with some specific answers to some threats in the meta, and that's no different than Bravo has ever felt, and especially now with Enigma LL. Um, I think the path is clear for Guardian more broadly, but also definitely Bravo to return. I think some people are overlooking some things that Bravo can do.
Mhm. Well, yeah, I mean, it's certainly good to get Enigma out of the way from even the LSS side with what's coming this summer. Although, to be fair, with the products that are being offered, they may not be focused on the competitive side of that. So,
Yep.
one of the,
Yep.
actually not one of the poster child for not only ProQuest season, but kind of the mastery set on the whole is Valda. So
Yep.
let's talk Valda here out of the gate. What are your thoughts there?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's a really good pick to introduce Valda as the tagline or the spotlight hero for what LSS had told us before was their first, or not their first, but their best attempt to date at a um, casual product. And also coming with that, Valda becomes playable in CC, which is great. And I think through some of the things we've seen, and I'm just making assumptions that there are plenty of other cards that we haven't seen yet. I think they put some serious effort behind making Valda at least viable. Um, in the past, Valda was, of course, only legal in Blitz, but even in Blitz, she just suffered from not having a broad enough card pool. If you look at her hero text, she needs crush cards, she needs seismic surges. Um, Obviously, Starstruck and Crippling Crush are bound to Bravo, and Valda can't play those. So if you look at the biggest threats that Valda ever had historically, it's Spinal Crush, Righteous, Cleansing, and like Disable Red. The 7 and 8 power crush cards are just too easy to block. So she just hasn't had the power, at least in the young hero format. Um, and also doesn't have a signature weapon either, by the way.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what else comes in the Mastery Pack Guardian, and yeah, I think I'll definitely brew some Valda decks. Um, the the new spec, put them in their place, is definitely a step in the right direction. And if you look at Valda's hero text, it's sort of self-contradictory in that crush, the mechanic, always means a detriment for Valda's opponent, right? A crush effect can never be beneficial for Valda. And so when Valda is relying on opponents drawing cards to create seismic surges, obviously card draw is not a detriment to an opponent. So the only way that they could have designed a Valda spec that sort of plays off of both elements of her hero text is the exact card that they designed, put them in their place. So you're getting the benefit off of the opponent drawing cards, but you're also milling at least three, maybe 2 to 3 cards out of the hand, which is a detriment. And then obviously refilling your seismics, and hopefully you can string them together maybe to close out a game or something like that. The other important thing about put them in their place is that it's a 10 power, so much more difficult to block out the crush effect. So I think put them in their place. They did a good job with that. And I hope that there's at least one, maybe 2, but I hope at least one more Valda spec. She is hard to design cards for. Maybe an aura, maybe not an attack action, but maybe there's something else in the realm of an aura, or something. Maybe even a signature weapon that somehow plays off of seismic surges or crush. I'm not sure if that's, putting crush on a weapon is something that they'd be open to. I think the hero text rules wise would allow for it, but I don't know if that's a design space that they're willing to go into. But yeah, I think Valda is coming into CC and probably will not make a huge impact right away. But if and when Bravo ever LLs, Valda and Betsy are the next closest in terms of play style. So yeah, we'll see. I think Guardian players will enjoy at least giving Valda a try for sure.
Yeah, so something right out of the gate with Valda was she was a 21 point. She was our first hero that had more than baseline. Let's just say that at 21 as young, but she didn't get that doubled when she went to adult. Right. So do you think that's just because of kind of to your point of what you just said about picking up the mantle or so? Is that just because they didn't want it to just go fatigue space?
Maybe I guess we'll see what else Mastery Pack Guardian has in it, but maybe she now has the card pool that no longer necessitates a bit of a crutch in terms of a health point bonus. I'm not sure. That's my best guess. Yeah, it'd be a great question to ask the devs, although I'm sure if someone asked them, they'd have a pretty quick and straightforward answer as well. I don't know. I wouldn't put too much thought or worry into that. I don't think having 40 life instead of 42 is going to make a huge difference. So yeah, I don't know. I will say though that the devs, at any time that I've spoken with them, and I've traveled to a number of tier 4 events, and usually LSS brings several of the developers to those events, and I remember talking with them about Valda specifically, and they are very open to answering questions. I was actually in one of the events, I was trying to brainstorm, this was 2 years ago. I was trying to brainstorm what could be a specialization card for Valda that would play off of both elements of the text box, of the hero text box. And this card, put them in their place, is actually very similar to what we came up with and when I was talking with them 2 years ago. So I know that they're open, and I know that they're willing to discuss, and maybe next time we're at an event we could ask about the health total thing.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, my guess is they just didn't, I guess I'm in my head, if you put a 42 health on a hero, everyone's like, oh, fatigue hero, right? That's kind of where I think we go. So yeah,
maybe there's just a limit to what they want to do with the life total. But Yeah, I'm not totally sure on that one. I will say though that if you do approach the devs with any ideas for cards, uh, one of them told me, I do like that idea, but at any time a person who's not a LSS employee like submits an idea for a card, it automatically disqualifies that card from being able to be printed. So I don't know. I don't know if that's still a rule that they try to stick by, but I don't know. I think it's fun to think about card design, and they've always been open to having conversations about cards. So yeah, to be continued.
Yeah, that seems like a good boilerplate to just make sure you don't have 400 pieces of fan mail every day for card
Yeah, it could
submissions.
be.
But yeah.
It could be. I don't think there were a ton of people trying to approach them about Valda cards, though. I guess we'll see. We'll see.
Fair enough. Well, so Valda, we just talked about, is the headline of Smash Palace, but Smash Palace itself, well, sorry, I take that back. She's the headline of Guardian Mastery. I apologize, but hand in
Right.
hand with Smash Palace. So,
Right.
what's your
Right.
take on that reveal being completely? They use the term social play. Actually, they use the term casual play, but it's social play focused. So, what's your take on that product?
Yeah. Yeah. This is when they first told us the name Smash Palace, it was described at that point. Now this is like a couple keynotes ago, if I remember. It was described at that point as their best attempt yet, or the best attempt to date at social play or casual play or whichever.
I think it was casual play. I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I like the fact that it has the event deck, and the idea that you turn over one card per turn that affects everything else that goes on during that turn cycle. I think that's really cool. I like how it uses Mastery Pack Guardian to play with. That combined with the fact that Mastery Pack Guardian packs can be used for crack shuffle play without Smash Palace, gives that product two different uses, both of which are beginner and like new player learning friendly. I think it's squarely meant to be casual, social, and new player. I think their pivot towards Guardian being the class for new players, specifically with the new young Bravo as well in the mix now, is a great way, taking the place of the. Well, is it? I'm not sure if it's taking the place or if it's now that there's two intro decks in addition to Ira. But I was going to say taking the place of the Ira deck. I think Bravo is just a fantastic learning hero, and Guardian is a fantastic learning class. So it makes a lot of sense from a lot of different angles. That crack shuffle play, Smash Palace, Bravo is the new entry deck for onboarding new players. It's premiering at Gen Con, by the way, and I'm sure it'll be at other conventions and tier 3 and 4 events. But Gen Con being, obviously a huge gaming convention, and a product that can be taken off the shelf and used in different ways, multiple ways, to introduce someone to the game is fantastic. I think those new crush cards that are only active if your opponent is also a guardian, right? I think people may have looked at that and wondered like, oh, why does it have to be a guardian opponent? But it just it's meant for that product is meant for playing into itself, and all those. I think all of those. I don't have them in front of me, but I think all the heroes in Smash Palace are guardian heroes.
The ones that we know of so far, but it seems to track, right?
Yep.
But
yeah. So those cards are designed for the social, casual, new player, and they don't have to be competitively viable.
Right.
I don't think an attack action card with Crush that is only turned on if the opponent is also a guardian. I think there's probably a pretty narrow meta that ever fits in competitively, but that's okay. I'm sure there'll be other competitively viable cards in Mastery Pack Guardian, and they need to print cards that make that standalone Smash Palace work on its own. So I'm excited to play it. We have locally here, we have a lot of social and casual play, and I have no doubt that product is gonna see the table at the LGS near me. So yeah, pretty excited about it.
Yeah, yeah, I do know you were talking about the old ones cycle, and I do know there was I mean at least on some of my past videos there was some negative comments around those. But
Yeah.
my guess is they're going to be like rares, maybe even commons within the set. So like I know the focus of being a Marvel is it implies hard to get, but I think the base card, like if you think about it from Crack Shuffle Play, you're only opening 12 packs at the table probably, right, in UPF. So it's not an M, like to have those cards. It's got to be an M.
Right.
Or sorry, it's
Right.
got to be a rare, right? At least
Right.
at
Right.
or at the
Yeah, you're not going
most.
to have a deck full of them. You'll be happy to have one or two of them.
Right. Well, but I mean what I mean is if they were only M's, you'd never see them, right?
Oh,
So
right. Yeah, of
yeah.
course. Yep.
Yeah, so it's probably going to be a rare or maybe a
Right.
common, but probably a rare. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think people, there's just going to be a category of people who aren't interested because of it's not aimed at competitive players. But that's okay. The product still needs to work without being supplemented by other products that came before it.
Mhm.
So, I think it'll be great, and there will definitely be. Yeah, I forget the number of unique new cards coming. It was like well over 100 though, if I remember correctly. So I'm sure there'll be cards in there that help to round out the broader Guardian card pool and can be competitively viable. So
Sure. Well, I mean,
a win all around.
to that point, we've already seen a number of them, even just through ProQuest season, right? In terms of the prizes.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yep.
I think to your point, there's going to be more Guardian cards. So, is there anything you're excited about yet, or out of the gate that we've seen thus far?
We could probably touch on the shield.
Okay.
So Testament to Valahai. I sort of was breaking this card down. First off, previous offhands for Guardian have mostly been Rampart, and then in some builds, the buckler that blocks for 2 and then blocks for 1. And we've had Seasoned Savior for a really long time, but Seasoned Savior needs some help. So I'm not quite sure if part of what we're going to see in Mastery Pack Guardian is going to be additional ways to remove counters from offhands, because Seasoned Savior has sort of always suffered. But this new shield, Testament of Valahai, seems like it's aiming to block for 5 in total, and there's a bunch of different ways you can block for 5. Depending on if you have 0 seismics, 3 or more seismics, or 6 or more seismics. So you can block for 5 all at once. If you have 6 seismics, you can block for 3 and then 2. If one turn cycle you've got 3 seismics, and another turn cycle you've got 6 seismics. You can block for 1 and then 4. You can block for 1 and then 2 and then another 2. Over 3 different turn cycles. So it seems like what they designed here, again, absent like another way yet to be seen for how to maybe remove counters from shields. But out of the box, this looks like it blocks for 5. So you're gonna need something to generate a lot of seismics to get a full 5 value out of it. Otherwise, you're just gonna run the buckler, which could block for 2 and then 1 without any conditions. So yeah, that one for builds of Guardian that are attack action focused, right? Because obviously a shield fills up one of the hand slots, so the other hand is only a one-handed weapon. And a lot of time, a one-handed weapon with an offhand shield is reserved for either super defensive strategies or strategies that need the armor on the shield to help to sort of like fend off disruptive attacks while you're trying to set up like extremely go tall, like aura boosted like crush effect attacks. So we'll see. I could see that shield seeing play in maybe in Valda. Well, obviously it's meant for Valda because Valda is the hero meant to take advantage of seismics, and so is the shield. But if there's more ways than just the new yellow instant seismic eruption, if there's more ways to really stack a lot of seismic surges, Tectonic Rift, or we'll see what else is in Mastery Pack. I could see the other Guardians maybe running this shield if the plan that those Guardians want to implement is heavy on attack actions. Someone who just wants to sit back and attack with a Nothos or Sledge of Anvilheim is obviously not running the shield, and so it has to fit the right deck. But there's definitely something to be brewed up with the shield. I think the new batter to a pulp is timing wise unfortunate, but just card pool wise good to have. I was thrilled to see when it was spoiled, and obviously the first day people got it in their hands was the last day that it was even relevant.
Yeah.
At least for now. But it's good to have in the card pool. What else? We got 2 auras, I think, as well, right? And depending on what else we get in the aura slot, those could be standouts. There's Embolden, which plays off of whether or not there's another aura in the arena at the time that Embolden is played. So having another aura that's got Go Again is potentially a synergy there. So I think a lot has yet to be seen, but stuff that I'll definitely be excited to experiment with for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you mentioned Bravo earlier, the new Bravo. So he is not a pit fighter. So with our current understanding, that means that he will, at least in his young form, be legal within whatever Blitz looks like at the time. And at least commoner is the assumption, because he is marked as a rare. So what are your thoughts around Bravo and the excitement there with, again, whatever Blitz will look like at the time? Let's just assume it looks like it does today. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Blitz or the new young hero format, I think is the way that James was referring to it. As a Bravo player, I'm thrilled to have another Bravo to play with. The original Bravo in Blitz, at least, is sort of close to Living Legend. And this one just means we can play Bravo longer. So I'm happy about that. I do think that Bravo Flattering Showman will be a really good introductory hero because it makes use of the arsenal. It actually forces use of the arsenal and the correct use of the arsenal. I think it also forces, playing a game and planning for the entire game's worth of turn cycles, not just one given turn cycle. Right. So if you know that to get the max value out of your hero ability, you need to play a Crippling Crush from the arsenal, and you can't just have it in hand. You might be thinking twice about putting it in arsenal early in the game, right? Especially with all the arsenal hate that's out there. And so, a new player picking up the new Bravo Welcome deck, maybe a step up from that is playing some Blitz games. That new hero that new player, is going to learn lessons about putting a really valuable crush card in arsenal too early in the game. So I think just by nature of the hero ability, it is going to force players to master pitch stacking, planning for future turns, watching what the opponent is pitching, and this is a introductory level hero in terms of complexity that is helping new players learn not so introductory level concepts gameplay wise. So I think that's good. I think it's a pretty strong hero ability. I mean, Crippling Crush for 13 instead of 11 is like that's
dominate.
Great.
Yeah,
dominated. Yeah, the only thing that's missing is Go Again, right? And then we're back to Starvo territory. So I'm definitely going to play the hero when it becomes legal. And one thing, there's always give and take in these hero abilities. So the card from Arsenal does have to have Crush. So it doesn't work on Pulverize. Doesn't work on Rouse the Ancients.
Oh no, Spinal does actually. Spinal obviously.
Yeah, Spinal's got Crush. Yeah. So that introduces a deck building constraint to a degree. There's a bunch of cards that are now becoming like really specific tools in the toolbox that are the tower cards. Obviously,
Mm.
those don't have crush. So there is a bit of a deck building constraint in the new young Bravo hero. That being said, Crippling Crush and Starstruck are just like that's probably enough anyway. Having those four in your 40 card deck. So yeah, I'm excited about the new Bravo. I'll definitely be playing it.
Yeah, I mean, I am scared of him in Commoner. He looks like he's
Yeah,
might be
yeah,
pretty good in Commoner, so we'll see how that
yeah,
lands.
yeah. Those common crush cards that are 3 cost 7 and 4 cost 8s
Yep.
all of a sudden get a +2. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you're so it's like choke slam and then well,
yeah,
so cranial or no, whatever the one that gives the frost effective frostbite, the 3/7 that gives a
yeah.
frostbite.
Cartilage
Cartilage,
crush,
thank you.
crush confidence. Yeah,
Choke
and maybe even more new
Yeah, well,
ones.
it's
We'll see.
choke slam prevents that, but then crush the weak. That's the biggest one because it might just shut
Crush
off
the
certain
weak. Yep.
heroes. Like it's like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Fi, you don't get to play this turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah. I think it's powerful. I mean, I would love. I would love for this to happen, but I don't think we'll see it in CC. Maybe someday. You know, for 2/3 of the Starvo ability to return to CC, I think would get a lot of. I mean, some people would be excited for it. I just think it would LL super quickly unless there was like a really hard counter that existed in the meta. But yeah, we'll see. Young hero for now. Uh, so that's enough, and that's great.
yeah. All right. Well, as you alluded to earlier, on the week we are shooting this, Enigma and Zen both have moved on. They've ascended to the clouds and beyond. So
Yep.
what's life look like for Bravo and the rest of the Guardians now that this
Yeah.
is the new era?
Yeah. Bravo. Obviously, everyone knows Bravo was nearly. It was nearly impossible to beat Enigma. I tried a bunch of different things and then I just stopped trying. And you know, if you remember back to September, maybe it was the November banned and suspended announcement when James White told us about his design philosophies going forward and building out the card pool so that I forget how he said it, but
It
something
was the
along the lines
September
of
9th one.
yep,
I think that's where they spoiled Jagged Edge, right? Yeah.
there was that one, and then there was another one, and I just don't remember
Yeah.
which was the one where there was a line in there about like what is a control deck and what is a control deck in Flesh and Blood
Oh, you're right. That
specifically.
it was the November one. You're right. Coming out of Worlds, right, where they banned CYB
Yeah.
Blue. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then there was a line in there about giving players more agency. So Jagged Edge, yeah, Jagged Edge was it actually that's the first time we saw Jagged Edge in that article. And obviously that's a warrior card, and Battered to a Pulp is the Guardian equivalent
Hmm.
of Jagged Edge. And obviously, yeah, we're not ever going to need Battered to a Pulp um, unless something with Ward or something close to Enigma comes back into the meta. Then obviously that card will be played. But just to go back and sort of like I just wanted to touch on the history with Bravo specifically and illusionists more generally, and why the design philosophies that we heard from James and LSS at the end of last year give me and should give everybody a lot more confidence for the future. So if you think about Prism Sculptor of Arclight, that matchup for Bravo was winnable. Obviously, no game of Flesh and Blood is guaranteed, but that I definitely felt like I had agency in the matchup, and I was winning a number of my matchups into Prism until Everfest released, and then Everfest obviously just added all those blue auras into the card pool for Prism, and then put the matchup out of reach for Bravo. 206 days, I did the math on some of these. 206 days after Everfest released is when Prism Sculptor of Arclight LL'd. Bravo during that entire 206 days never had an answer for that original Prism and Luminaris specifically. Fast forward to January 2025, we get Roiling Fissure. Roiling Fissure Bravo had access to that 3 years prior. You could clear 3 auras with tectonic plating and a hammer swing. You can clear three Spectra pieces in one Bravo turn cycle if Roiling Fissure would have been there. Fast forward to Dromai. Dromai was always okay for Bravo. I know that everyone says it was a famously 90-90 matchup. I never had any problems with Dromai. I'm sure there are Dromai players that never had any problems with Bravo. I think both decks could have been brewed in so many different ways. Anyway, Dromai was legal for 662 days. Obviously, the final nail with, I don't know if it was the final nail, but it was a very large nail, 300 points in one Sigil of Solace, Pro Tour, is what really helped Dromai LL. But my point in bringing up Dromai is, Dromai was not designed around some new mechanic that the old legacy heroes couldn't deal with. And Dromai still had a passionate player base and still LL'd in a fairly short period of time. Definitely a period of time within the window. I think they've said like 1 to 2 years or 1.5 to 2 years is ideal lifespan for a legal hero. And Dromai was squarely within that, and a totally fair matchup, not built on like uninteractable game mechanics. Next one, Enigma, obviously.
Obviously.
The original heroes were designed before Ward was designed, and then they released a new Illusionist hero whose entire DNA is built around Ward, right? So if you don't give the original heroes tools to combat Ward, they're just not going to be able to compete with Enigma, and that's what we saw. So I think the slow trickle of like Jagged Edge and then eventually Batter to a Pulp, I think will no longer be a slow trickle. I think based on reading the tea leaves and what they've said in these their new design philosophies and everything else, I think, or at least I hope, that the next time we get an Illusionist or a whatever class that's built on an entirely new axis that didn't exist ever before, that in the same set will be cards for the other classes that can help to compete with whatever the new thing is or the new mechanic is. I hope that's the case. I hope the days of waiting for Roiling Fissure and waiting for Batter to a Pulp and waiting for your Jagged Edge, I hope those days are behind us. We'll see. But yeah, just wanted to sort of touch on brief history with Bravo and Illusionist. And so current day, we've got Prism, Awakener of Soul. That matchup's okay for Bravo. If you know what you're doing, you can beat it. So yeah, no more brand new heroes built around like entirely new mechanics that never existed before without giving the old heroes tools to combat the new mechanics. That's just I hope that's part of their design DNA going forward. But yeah, getting back to your question, just how is Bravo poised just more generally in a world without Enigma and Zen in it? I think there's a few different builds of Bravo. There's just a mid-range Anothos, a mid-range deck. There's an Auras deck that aims to end the game as fast and as quickly as possible. There's a CYB deck, right? And I think, and I've said this before, but Bravo is the ultimate hero that gives, again, with the asterisk that the cards exist in the card pool. But as long as the cards exist in the card pool, which they do now that Enigma is gone, Bravo can pivot deck strategies to whatever the meta is. So, and that's the thing that has always drawn me, and I know other Bravo players, to playing Bravo, is because you can put in CNC or Pummel, or you can put in Crush the Weak, or you can put in Auras, or you can put in CYB, and it requires you to be, if you're playing at a RTN or a ProQuest, it requires you to be engaged with your local scene, so you know what the favorite heroes of the other people you're likely to run into. What other heroes people will bring, and you can brew your deck locally And then if you go to a much larger event somewhere, a tier 3 or higher event, you can brew a totally different deck for a wider meta. So Bravo is with the LL of Enigma specifically. Bravo is back to where he has been in the past, which is a well experienced and skilled Bravo player who's willing to trial and error some things and brew a deck that's specific to a point in time when it's relevant for that particular meta. A Bravo player can absolutely brew a deck that's viable. I mean, I'm definitely bringing Bravo to a local pro quest that I've got here in Michigan in a couple weeks, and I'm not feeling bad about it at all. So, yeah, Bravo's, I think, in a good spot.
Okay. How about the other Guardians? You had some notes on Victor, Jarl, and Betsy. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, Victor, I think needs the big power attacks, which is what New preys off of. So I think in my experimenting with Victor at the end of last year, I was able to win some of the new matchups, not all of them. And I think if New is really prevalent, that might make me question Victor. But that being said, Victor can sometimes just steamroll New and just close the game quickly and beat New. I think New is Victor's biggest. Like if the game goes long against New, I think Victor ends up getting his own cards played against him, and it's tough. But if New becomes one of the prominent heroes in the meta now, um, New could be LLing soon as well, and if that happens, I think Victor is definitely strong. I think before New was a thing, Victor was gaining collecting LL points like pretty quickly if I remember correctly. So yeah, I think Victor could come back and definitely needs to watch out for New specifically. Jarl can destroy any equipment piece with the equipment or with the aura that puts a minus counter on any equipment and then frozen to death, which just destroys it. So Bravo obviously with Colossal Bearing can only destroy one armor equipment. Jarl can destroy any equipment. So Jarl can destroy Mask of Recurring Nightmares, and Bravo cannot. So there are things that Jarl does better, but obviously Jarl cannot play Crippling Crush, cannot play Starstruck, and that might seem like a marginal difference, but it really is a big difference. So Jarl with his equipment destruction and frostbites, I think plays on a slightly different axis. There's a lot less deck milling and hand disruption with Jarl than what Bravo can do, but Jarl has its own strengths. So I think it'll definitely appeal to a lot of people. And if you can end the game with like back-to-back Oaken Olds, after a remembrance or something, then I mean he can close a game out for sure.
Does have
Betsy,
a surprising number of 2 blocks though.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, I think you have to. I think you have to play a long game. I've seen a lot of CYB Jarls running around. I don't know if that's the best strategy necessarily. CNC Pummel is like peak for, both of those are generics. They aren't Guardian cards. And I think Jarl needs to play them because of the lack of other Guardian cards that he's eligible to play that don't have as much hand disruption. I mean, Oaken Old is really the only one, and you do need to have like a bare minimum amount of disruption to play Guardian. So CNC Pummel is just a must there. So yeah, I think Jarl plays on a slightly different axis, but is absolutely feels like a Guardian. And also had a bad matchup into Enigma, and is also a lot more playable today than he was a week ago for sure. Betsy, I don't think changes a whole lot, and that's just because changing from 0 is still 0, maybe. Betsy, the one thing Betsy can do is have her hero ability act on weapon swings,
Mm-hmm.
not just act on attack action cards. Um, I think Betsy is meant to be by default sort of the aura hero. Crash down and Earthlore Surge, I think is the name of the other
Well,
one.
and she's got
Um,
Big Bop and
right,
whatever the other
bigger
one
than
is.
big.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes. So Big Bop and bigger than big synergize really well with the hero power
Mm-hmm.
of Betsy, and I think those were absolutely meant for Betsy, and that's why I think sending something like Drink 'em Under the Table boosted by Big Bop or Bigger Than Big is like the lane Betsy is supposed to be in. The fact that she doesn't have a signature weapon yet, I think, implies even more that Betsy is meant to be um, the default aura guardian. Um, yes, there are Crash Down and Earthlore Surge that the other guardians can play, and I have played them. But the fact that Betsy's signature attack action cards, or I should say, specialization attack action cards, are 4 cost, eight power, and only need to hit for one, and as opposed to the crush cards that need to hit for four. I think that all speaks to they're meant to be played off the back of like put money where your mouth is, or to be boosted by one of the auras from a previous turn.
Mm-hmm.
So I think again, pointing back to new, it's really tough to play a aura guardian in a meta where new is prevalent, because new has an entire turn cycle to see that you've got an aura waiting there, waiting for your next turn to come around, and new just has way too many arsenal and hand disruptive pieces that aren't interactable. Like Siren's Call can just completely
Right.
end, end a setup turn, and it's just completely wasted. So I think, again, Betsy will be highly benefited when new LLs, and I think there's something there. That being said, like Crippling Crush and Starstruck are just better than both of the specializations that Betsy has. So I think Betsy gets a boost for Guardian players like me when Bravo's no longer available. Or yeah, like I said, if Betsy is able to get a signature weapon finally, everyone wants the log. I'm sure we'll get it at some point. But
Armory deck, baby.
yeah, I think that would be a really good candidate for an armory deck for sure. It's almost like it has to happen, I feel like. But yeah, Betsy's in the mix. Probably lags behind Jarl and Bravo. I'm sorry. Well, Jarl too. I was going to say Victor and Bravo. The one thing, but they're all a little bit different. If you're okay with a little bit of variance and randomness with your clashes, then you can play Victor and be pretty happy. The play style is not necessarily for me, just because relying on what's on top of your deck when you don't know what's there is like a level of variance that I don't really enjoy. But I'm glad that there are 4 different guardians that play on slightly different um, play lines. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think Guardian is back, and the players who really take the time to test things out, brew decks that are meta specific will be rewarded for sure.
Okay. Well, awesome. So yeah, the summer of Guardian it's not that far away, right? It's what, 2 months
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I think, yeah, this ProQuest season, I think people are going to be trying something out. Like, I think there's a lot of assumptions that have been sort of baked into the commentary about Guardians over the last several months, that just certain hero just rolls over Bravo or rolls over Guardian, just because that's how it has been. But I'm not so sure. For example, if if uh, if Kano becomes super meta, then could you Colossal Bearing Storm Striders? Could you Colossal Bearing Flick Knives? Yeah, you could. Could you Could you smack the auras with a Florian OTK? Yeah, you could do that. So I think I think the current conceptions of how bad Guardian is just a result of people just not choosing to play Guardian. It's also a result of Enigma existing, and I think we could just be turning the corners. There's just a lot of niche cards and situational cards that are just like silver bullets for Guardian. Bravo into Dash IE. Rampart and Warhorn is just an auto win, right? So, obviously you've got a 80 card deck constraint and you can't have every silver bullet in every deck, but that again goes back to your ability to know what your local meta looks like and bring something that counters it. So, yeah, Guardian Summer I think is here, and I think people are going to slowly realize that there are tools in the Guardian toolbox.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, my friend, thanks for stopping by. I have felt apt to have the Guardian Summer chat with you. So
Yeah.
before we get out of here, anything else you want to hit on, or shout outs or anything?
No, I don't think so. No, shout outs, no. Yeah, the Guardian chats and groups that I'm in are definitely more active now, especially this week. And yeah, it's things are feeling a bit more normal. So yeah, just excited to continue to play and to brew decks and to see what I can do with Bravo and see what Guardian can do more generally. So no, I think I'm good. I think I touched on all the stuff I wanted to cover.
Okay, cool.
What about you? What's your take on Guardian in Commoner or Blitz? And are there big changes with either the reveals that we've seen, or anything with the rotation, or the last time we had rotation in Blitz? What's your take on Guardian in the other formats?
Yeah, so I mean, nothing's unfortunately, because I think they have their points allocation wrong in Blitz in terms of 1500. We haven't seen any rotation really in 2 cycles. But the big winner right now is, well, I think the best deck in Blitz is Verdance, but the big winner right now is Aurora, which should in theory put OG Bravo in a pretty good spot, because Aurora blocks for crud. So I'm a little surprised to have not seen Bravo do better. Plus, if she's coming at you with an Arc Lightning turn, you can block with a blue effectively to take 3 Arcane and blast through it and then swing. So I think Bravo should be doing a lot better in Blitz than he is.
Yeah, the biggest problem I ran into last time I played a Blitz event was original Prism and Luminaris still lives there.
Right.
That's the one that Bravo cannot get around.
Well, have you run up against the new Prism with old Luminaris? That deck seems grosser to me.
New Prism with old Luminaris? No, I haven't played against that.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Because they can do Aura Angels, and yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. Yep. Original Luminaris was a problem. Everyone has heard that speech, but it still exists in Blitz. So until that's gone, yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. So there's
Roiling
Fissure,
that. Right? Roiling Fissure.
Yeah,
maybe,
I guess.
Maybe there's something.
But
there.
you got to draw it in Blitz before you get stabbed 20 times. So
yeah. Yep. You're right.
Yeah, and then Commoner, I already gave my piece. I think that I'll just say it. I think the new Bravo's busted in Commoner, but
yeah,
we'll see when we get him on the table. Oh, Ira's still a thing. So
yeah, that's why we're here, to play the games, right?
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, I want to wish you luck in that. You said ProQuest in 2 weeks, is what you said?
Yep. Yeah, I've got one in 2 weeks that I'm looking for. I didn't play any last ProQuest season, so this will be my first one in a while. So looking forward to that. Yep.
Cool. Get back on the bike, and maybe you can get Bravo a piece of the he'd probably be down in the other section with the way that they do their pie, but he did a piece of the pie.
Yep. We'll see. We'll be shooting for it, though.
Cool. Well, I wish you luck. Actually, what you really need to do is top 4 so you can get your Velda. That's the real thing. So you can be all set up for this summer. So
Yes, although I don't think the Valdas or the Batter to a Pulps will be that difficult to get if you really want to get one and you don't win one.
Yeah,
We'll
that's
see.
fair.
Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah,
Yeah.
Batter to a Pulp specifically just isn't even needed anymore. So I think those cards are going to be on the market.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, there's 8 of those, 4 Valdas, right? Yeah. So for each one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, my friend. Well, I know we got to get you to bed, and I got to get to some other stuff, but I really want to thank you for, I know it's late for you, so thanks for making it work with both of our schedules, and you got to say it with me, my friend. Go Commando.
Go Commando. See ya.